Hey everyone, it's Jeremy with Quietmind Yoga, and today we have a practice called Yoga in the PM for a BM in the AM, which I got from Mark Uridel, amazing anatomy teacher in Austin, Texas, who I've worked with. The name is super funny, and the practice is maybe not so funny if you're constipated, but this will hopefully help with that. If you have any sort of tension in your stomach, even this is helpful. And just to have like a regular bowel movement is super important and healthy, and it's a big part of Ayurveda and Chinese medicine. You know, making sure you have regularity in your digestion is super important. For this practice, you'll want a blanket, yoga blanket, and we'll just start on the ground. So first thing you'll do is take your blanket out in this sort of long rectangle shape and then roll it up into a burrito shape. So I just made this pretty thick, and you'll see when we come into it, if you want to make it less intense, you just decrease the thickness of that. So you'll come down to the belly on the blanket, just below the belly button. And again, if that feels right away, there's a pressure and tension that feels uncomfortable, you can get up and unroll the blanket a little bit so it's a smaller burrito, not so thick. And then you can come back onto that spot. Right below the belly button is probably where you'll feel this, and it could be somewhere around there. So just kind of feel around, find a good spot to stay in. Start to lengthen your exhales, and the rest of your body as best you can just sinks it down and give your body weight into the blanket. So there's a pressure happening under the belly button without any effort, just dead weight. And having just that little bit of the blanket there is enough to push into that spot. For me, it feels amazing. And for you, if it doesn't feel so good, make that roll a little thinner and then find the spot that feels good, right? By amazing, that's relative. So it's a little uncomfortable, but it's a nice little pressure there. We'll have a couple minutes here just to rest on this. If you are practicing this in the evening, in the PM, like I suggest, if you're like me, you don't want to move a whole lot at night. You're kind of done for the day. I do a lot of my movement early in the day, so by the end of the day, I just want to lay down, and doing something like this is a pretty good motivator to get me to do some yoga. So if this feels good, you'll stay here for a little bit, and if it starts to feel uncomfortable, you can move and adjust and find a new spot. Notice your breathing here. Is your breath shallow or deep? Do you feel this breath coming all the way down to the belly? That's what we're going for. But if it is a little restricted and limited tonight, that's okay. And we're just going to keep attention on it, and maybe it becomes a little more dynamic, a little more free to breathe. I guess I should have had a warning, a disclaimer at the beginning. There may be some release of tension, you could say, in your belly, escape of air, however you want to talk around just passing gas. That could happen if you have some tension and that bloatedness in the belly built up. Right, it's part of the human experience, and it's okay. You just might want to let people in the house know what's going on here. And about one more minute. So if that's feeling like not so much sensation anymore, you can adjust and find a new spot. If you find something that feels a little sensitive, you can take some big exhales through the mouth. whatever position, whatever's going on, exhales a little bit longer than the inhales. Last call if you want to take one more little adjustment, maybe find a different spot on the belly. Of course, you can always do this longer. This is just sort of a minimum. A few minutes has to be pretty nice and pretty. You can do some pretty good work in a short time. Okay, and then we'll start to come up to the forearms, like Sphinx pose, still with the blanket under the belly, and the belly softening as best it can. It might contract and get a little tense at times, and just keep bringing attention to it to soften. This is option A. Option B would be to bring your hands under the shoulders, going deeper into that again, and then bend the knees. All right, so we're going for a bow pose, holding outside of the pinky toe side of the feet, and then start to lift the chest before you lift the knees, because this already might be plenty. And if you want more, you can start to lift the knees as well. And if that's too much, just come back down. For my body right now, it feels like plenty just lifting the chest into this. And you may even want to adjust the blanket a little bit on that spot, because we're going a lot further into this and adding some more pressure onto that spot. So just be gentle with it. There's no need to push it. You want to find where the tension is, press the blanket into that spot, and breathe. Something I talk about every now and then, the titration of the breath. I learned from my mentor, Jen Wooten, that you might want to practice here. These exhales like you're blowing out through a straw. Lengthening the breath. Controlled release of tension. And then we'll release the feet if you're holding them, or if you're in Sphinx pose, start to come onto the hands from any position here, and we'll come back to hands and knees. Sweet relief on the belly, knees apart, hips back to heels, move the burrito, and let your belly drop down between the knees. Arms reach out in child's pose. Main thing here is that your knees are wide enough that your belly can just drop down between the thighs and take deep belly breaths. Hands are active in this version, so we're pressing into the knuckles to drive the hips back. And here, if you try to squeeze your glutes, you won't really be able to. But what you will do is contract the pelvic floor muscles, the mula bandha, which is great to just engaging for a moment and then relaxing for a moment. Just as you're breathing, however you like, contracting the pelvic floor, try to squeeze the glutes, but you won't. And then let it relax for a moment. And then contract the pelvic floor. And then relax. And contract. And relax. If you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, no problem. Child's pose is plenty on its own. These subtler things just come with time and awareness. And you could try it again in maybe 6 months and it might feel a little different. Let's come back up to hands and knees. And then from here, we'll come up to downward facing dog, just visiting for a moment, pedal the feet out. And then step your right foot forward and turn to your left. Bend at the knees and roll up to stand. All right, so the feet are a little wider than shoulder width. Toes and knees pointing slightly out from the center. And this is a movement from some Eastern modalities. Kundalini Yoga does this as well. I really like it for the digestion. It's a pretty nice movement. So you'll reach your arms out, inhale, and as you exhale, touch right arm to left foot. Inhale up, exhale down. If you don't reach the foot, move in that direction. Inhaling up, exhaling down. And this one's a fairly quick movement. Inhale up, exhale down. Obviously, contracting the internal organs pretty good here. In my experience, this helps with peristalsis, that sort of pulse of digestion that happens in the organs, in the intestines, and we want that. Good peristalsis is good digestion, good regularity in bowel movements and digestive processes in the body. So I like to keep this up until I'm kind of worn out with it, especially at the end of a day. Just like, okay, starting to wear me out here. I think I've had enough, and that's about the time. It's like, okay, starting to rest. So you come back to center, bring the feet in, and then come face the front of your mat. And just for a moment here, reach the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, point the index fingers, and press the hips forward and lift the chest, stretching from the hips to the ribs and this whole belly region that we just contracted a lot, giving it a nice stretch. And then release down. Let's come down to sitting. In a comfortable seated posture, Sukhasana. Hands on the knees, and start to make a big circle forward as you inhale and back as you exhale. Another movement I learned from Qigong and Kundalini Yoga. Great for massaging the internal organs. Inhaling forward and exhaling back a couple more rounds like that. And this movement as well is a little quicker than the slow breathing we did at the beginning. As you move, find contraction in the center. Move from the center out. And we'll go forward, inhale. Exhale back other direction. So we're reversing these circles. Whichever way you were just going, go the other way. Right, this isn't a shoulder movement. It's not so much a hip movement. It's an internal organ movement. So you're really moving from the center, massaging them out. If you know Nali Kriya, where you massage the belly just by sucking it in, it's similar to that. And back to center, sitting upright, neutral for a moment. And then we'll turn towards the front of the mat if you're not already. Knees bent. And I forgot to say you could use a block here. Your blanket could work too if that's all you got. But we're going to sit the heels or the hips either on the heels or between the feet, possibly on a blanket or a block, or possibly on the floor in hero pose Virasana. And then once you're in position here, spine tall, knees are bent. If there's any pain in the knees, move the hips up higher to reduce that pain. And then from here, we'll bring the hands onto the knees, lift the chest forward, and we'll stick the tongue out when we exhale for a lion's breath. Inhale, nose. Exhale. So when you exhale like that, your whole belly draws in as best it can. Inhale, nose. Two more. Come back up to hands and knees, down to the back. Hopefully you're feeling something in the belly by now. Right knee comes in, left leg extends out. Wind relieving pose. Belly relaxes as you exhale. You could titrate the breath out like you're blowing out through a straw, if that feels good. Right knee drawing in towards the right shoulder. Left leg straight, or if it feels better, left knee can be bent. But if you can, left leg straight. Belly softer and softer. And then we'll switch legs, left knee in, right leg straight. Slow inhales, long exhales. Release the leg down. Press the toes away. Reach the fingertips to the wall behind you. Whole body stretch. Inhale. And exhale. Deep inhale. And exhale. Palms beside you. Make any last little movements that you need to for Savasana. Legs open, shoulders down the back. Palms open beside you. Belly soft. And if you'd like, you can put your blanket on the belly. There's a little weight there. If you have a sandbag nearby, and that might feel good there too. But just a little weight there might feel great on the belly, helping the body sink down to the ground. And we'll have about 2 minutes here to rest in stillness. Body becoming heavy, giving your body down to gravity. Think of how heavy your body was on the blanket in the beginning. Now how heavy you can let the blanket feel on your belly. Right, so your body just sinking down and melting, and that blanket feeling heavier and heavier, softening the belly more and more. If you feel some movement or hear some sounds in the belly, even better. And if not, that's totally fine too. As we become more still, we might start to feel more of that sensation inside the body, these more subtle sensations. The breath slowing down, the heart rate slowing down. And then take a deep breath in. Titrate the breath out the mouth. Move fingers and toes, normal breathing. Arms and legs. Come over to your right side to rest for a moment. And then press into the left hand, back up to sitting. Hands together at the heart, bowing the mind to the heart and to each other. Thank you for sharing your practice this evening. Good luck tomorrow. Namaste.